Hello and welcome to day 9 of our 12 Days of Whiskey series. I'm joined as ever by Mr. Luke John.
Konnichiwa.
And today for day 9, we are going across to Derbyshire and we're looking at White Peaks Distillery. Now, White Peaks Distillery were established in 2016 in Ambergate in Derbyshire. What's interesting to note is that the logo is there, not amazingly prominent, and you see the word Wireworks more prominent. All their whiskies are called Wireworks, and it's named so because the location they moved into was an old Wireworks. And then underneath, they list what the series is. So for this one we've got here, it's a 50% fill for ex-bourbon, and the other 50%, and then the other 50% is not first fill bourbon, and then it gets put into a red wine port case afterwards for finishing. They have a long fermentation period. This is one thing they sort of say that sets them out from everyone else. They go for a longer fermentation period, which I think is verging towards the 10 to 14 days, where a lot of the others we find are 5 to 7 days. And that's before they then go and put them into the casks. I think there's not really much more to say. They're new, and I think their first whiskey was launched in 2022 in February time, and this may be edition number 6 or 7 from their whiskey range. I don't know why I'm taking off, it just feels like it.
And I will say as well that the bottle is quite spectacular. It is absolutely on point.
It looks like a brandy bottle or a decanter.
Yeah. It really is a nice bottle.
And then this is where I try and find the opening point on this one. There we go. Ooh, nice big cork on it.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it's a short, stubby cork.
Girthy.
And that bottle does, I mean, that's something you would potentially keep afterwards and maybe use as a decanter. That looks really nice. Color-wise, thankfully, we are back to the world of whiskey color. There's no pink hues on this one that I can see.
There is no Turkish Delight. There is no raspberry. There is none of that fake Randolph Churchilly stuff.
The new year's looking better already. It's looking brighter.
It's improved.
Not Brightwell Bottle Distillery, brighter.
Yeah, so as you said about the colour, it's typical whiskey colour. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, so I don't think I mentioned, I did say barrel, but this is their full port series. So when it's aged, it's the port barrels at the end. Let's go for a whiff of this and see what we're getting on those. I am just thinking ABV, yeah, 52%. I immediately got a bit of acetone heat off it. I'm getting the malt and grain.
Yeah.
Although there is something else there to it, but
there is a slight sweetness to it. But yeah, quite a bit of acetone.
52%.
Little sweetness. The grain, as you said. Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone out there, even if you're doing dry January.
Oops.
The bourbon.
But
bourbon is obviously the most common sort of barrel that everything goes into whiskey wise, just because of how the US regulates how bourbon is. It's fresh virgin casks, so that's to be expected. But that first fill, because it's only been bourbon beforehand, then they've used it. Yeah, that definitely brings through a lot of the bourbon flavors.
I am getting a nice little bit of smoke there, actually. A little bit of peat coming through.
Maybe, yeah.
I think this is a peated whiskey.
I didn't see anything written on that, but you might well be right. I don't know where, unlike others that are saying where they get it locally, I don't think they've said where it's from. So it could be from Scotland. But yeah, the more you say that, the more I'm like, yeah, you're right. But there is that sort of richness or sweetness of the port as well, I find at the end. It just remains in the mouth. So it's not very overall drying and massive burn like a bourbon. It's slightly there at the beginning, it dissipates, and then it's very sweet and rich in the mouth.
Yep.
I quite like the aftertaste on that.
Yep. So as we'll follow the same process as we've done, we'll go for a second, and then third, we'll add a little pipette of water.
Okay. Yeah, more of the smoke that time for me. But
It hasn't changed. It's exactly the same for me.
I'm waiting for because it seems to be a quite long finish with the bourbon element, and then that's when your rich, sweet port notes come through there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a long finish on this. That's not bad in the sense of depends what you're looking for, but I like that it changes in the flavors and it leaves you wanting more.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for pipette and drop 2 droplets of water. As it's a higher ABV and it's bourbon, I think history will teach me that it's going to smell more bourbony. But taste-wise, I'll be interested to see what happens. A lot more bourbon, a lot more wood.
Yeah. A little less of the acetone.
It's dampened. Yeah, that heat. Let's go for a taste. Cheers all.
Cheers. It's a little bit sweeter. A little bit of that smoked peat has kind of been diluted a little bit, and there's now a little bit more sweetness to it. But it is bourbon.
Yeah. I feel the smoke has been replaced a bit more with more of the bourbon notes, the more pepperiness, and a bit more drying, I would say. But again, it's done what I liked when I first had it without the water. It has coated the sides of the mouth with the oils that is the nice sweet port element flavors. So it leaves that nice flavor. You have to bear through the bourbon flavors to begin with, but then you are rewarded with a nice port flavor.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking price wise. So they do a few of these. They do different finish ones. They've got ones that they finish in Madeira, rum barrels, and red wine barrels, all the lot. The prices for them vary from £60 to £75, just depending upon the finish points that they're doing.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad price point.
Yeah, not bad at all. I actually, it's a hit and miss for me. I like it. I just would say I'm not sure the first fill bourbon cask perhaps is needed. It could have been, ex-bourbon casks that have been used elsewhere, just so that some of those bourbon elements can be taken off. But I say this is what they were going for, and it's hit the mark on what they wanted. But I really do like the ending sweetness that's there.
Yep. Exactly the same. Thanks for joining us on yet another video. If this is your first video in the series, please go back and watch the others. We are doing 12 days of whiskey. And if you're new around here, please subscribe, drop a little comment, give us a like, and we will catch you on tomorrow's video.
See you on day 10, guys.
Adios.